I battle with anxiety a lot. Sometimes in my songwriting, that anxiety can come in. And so what I've learned to do is stop putting pressure on myself to come up with anything and just put it back on the Lord and say, Father, anything I come up with right now is going to be birthed out of that place of striving. Can you give me words? And a lot of times he'll speak to me. And it's usually in those moments of just worship, they'll come out. And I try to be disciplined where I try and write one song a day. Ray Hughes says we should always try and write one song a day, even if the only one that hears is the Lord. Sometimes it's just, and those are the best songs. It's the ones that there's just a syllable,
That's all I have.
But I think those are building to something that he's trying to do, and nothing is wasted.
You're listening to the Ferment Podcast, conversations about worship and transformation. Today's guest is Sarah Pemberton. Sarah is a worship leader, songwriter, and the co-lead pastor of the Nashville Vineyard in East Nashville, Tennessee. This episode is brought to you by Monk Drums. Monk Drums is a creative desert venture that strives to combine beauty and business as one heartbeat. Monk Drums' main focus is handcrafted wooden drums that allow us to love, assist, and serve all who accompany us on this path. Use the coupon code FERMENTPOD to get 5% off your Monk Drums order. Find them on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Monk Drums. And every Monday, look for hashtag Monk Drum Monday. Speaking from personal experience, Monk Drums are wonderfully crafted and they sound amazing. They blend the best traits of both the djembe and the cajon, and I found them to be incredibly versatile in both the live and studio environment. Check them out at monkdrums.com.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at worshipteam.com. Worshipteam.com comes preloaded with over 12,000 songs, with new songs being added all the time. Hillsong, Bethel, Vineyard, Six Steps, Jesus Culture, just to name a few. Service building with Worship Team is a snap, and all the songs are completely legal and licensed. You can also find them on social media, Facebook at worshipteam.com, Twitter at worshipteam, Instagram at worshipteam_WT. Visit them at worshipteam.com for a free trial today. Complete worship planning with thousands of songs, easy interface, mobile apps, and legal rights for your church. All you need in one place, worshipteam.com.
Today's episode of the Ferment Podcast is brought to you by Hardin Coffee, a small batch custom roaster located in the rolling green hills of Kentucky. At Hardin, we believe in locating world-class coffee from around the globe and delivering it to your door fresh and roasted to perfection. We specialize in single origin coffees as well as seasonal blends. Coffee is communal, coffee is culinary, coffee is art. Visit us today at hardincoffee.com.
Hey, Sarah, how are you?
I am good. Doing good.
That's right. Hey, for everybody who's listening, my guest today is Sarah Pemberton, and we are sitting in a really, really beautiful church. How old is this church?
This church is, it was built in 1891. That's
It's
when they laid the
unbelievable.
corners.
This is the most unvineyard church I've ever been in my life. And for those of you who are listening, it's like wood beams, for real legit stained glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
Yeah. It really is amazing.
And we normally don't start here, but how did you all get this place?
Well, I mean, it's a long story, but we were in a basement in a restaurant that was actually...
Because you were planting a church, right?
We were planting a church, yeah. So we've been around now 3 years, and we've been in this building 2 years. And, well, we were in the basement. We were outgrowing our basement, and we were at a 4 o'clock service, and it was killing us. Grant was still full-time as a banker.
Yeah,
so
because you're church planting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in fact, I don't think we actually had a Saturday until this past year, like where we did nothing.
Wow.
So it was a long time. But anyways, we needed a new building. It was interesting. In our last little place, we had this room. We had like 4 toilets.
Yeah.
But no stalls. And so we used to have to tell people, please lock the door. It's not, you need
Was this a part of your church announcements?
Yeah, we had to, because people
welcome
would
to
walk
Nashville
in on
Vineyard.
people.
Glad you're here.
Yes.
We love Jesus and we love you. And by the way, if you go into the bathroom, please lock the door.
Yeah, it's for one at a time. Because it had a shower. It was really weird. And our kids were like in a prison cell, like off the stage. There's like this little broom closet with bars in the window. That's where my kids spent a whole year in Sunday school.
I love church planting stories. It's like, it's always some version of a story where it shouldn't work. You know? It absolutely shouldn't work.
It should. I don't understand people that would come. I didn't understand people that came to our church because you had to like get off the road down a gravel road and go down underneath this restaurant in this little concrete building. I would never do that. And
That's
like
right.
people would come.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
The second building that Vineyard Campbellsville had was a movie theater, which is not unusual, but this one was just such a raggedy movie theater. And like the floors were permanently sticky from 30 years of spilled Pepsis, and and it was dark and it smelled terrible. And we told people forever, like, why are you here?
Right.
Like, why are you must really,
That's what
really,
we would
really
ask.
love Jesus,
Yeah.
in order to come to this building. It's not the building. There's nothing attractional here. These people love the Lord.
Yeah. I mean, people
Yeah.
have to be courageous to go to a new church like that.
They really do.
And I remember our band, like I blew my vocal cords that first year because it was all concrete, floor, walls, everything. And we had, you had to sing. We had these loud monitors and speak. It was crazy. But
Did you do damage to your vocal cords?
I
or
actually
you
did not. I went
Okay.
and got scoped because I thought, because it hurt. But turns out I don't know how to sing.
Okay.
That was the problem. And so like I talked to Diane Thiel
Oh,
down in Atlanta.
shout out to Diane.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
And she, talked me free for a lesson or whatever. And then I realized, okay, I need to work on this. And so then
Yeah.
I just started YouTubing stuff
Yeah.
because, we were poor.
Yeah.
And so started YouTubing and I was able to kind of figure out
What to
I
do.
need to do and what
Yeah.
I was doing wrong.
But
So-
now you're in this big room.
right.
And then,
so,
so what happened? So you're in the concrete block room.
yeah. So Grant is a banker. He knew a lot of rich people, and
Yeah.
we were outgrowing our space. We were also exhausted from, doing everything we were doing, and we knew to grow we needed to find a new building. So Grant started looking at real estate in Nashville, and it's impossible.
It's nuts.
Yeah, we were paying like $2,000 for 4 hours in this basement. There was no way we were gonna be able to afford to either buy or even rent because we found places like $15,000 for like 1,200 square feet.
Yeah.
That just doesn't work. So Grant reached out to one of his real estate friends and he started sending Grant real estate options. And one was this building, and this building was for sale for like $2.4 million or something crazy.
Nuts.
And Grant went to go right back to him and just say like, haha, very funny, But he felt like the Lord told him, if you want it, it's yours. And so Grant
felt like
yeah,
that.
he felt that unction.
And by the way, Grant is your husband.
Yes, Grant's my husband. Yeah. And we have 2 kids and they're awesome, Jackson and Caleb. But so he felt that unction and he was like, I'll come to it. And so he met the realtor guy here who was also a member of the church that was here. It was a Methodist building from 1891, still Methodist, had never left their denomination. But their church had dwindled down to about 10 people. It was really sad. And they had to, a lot of Methodist churches are actually being sold right now in Nashville because a lot of them are closing down. But anyways, he toured them and Grant just was like, there is a business opportunity here. Put the church plan aside for a second. There's a whole educational building attached to this church building, which can't be touched because it's a historical landmark.
Yeah.
That education building could be turned into something awesome.
Yeah, and it's big.
Right. And so he thought, I need to get people to understand that if they turn that into a business and gift this to the church as a tax break, it would work. So anyways, Grant's running all this through his head.
Yeah, he's a
And-
finance guy.
Yeah. And he's an entrepreneur, so it just happened. So he started bringing people through that he knew, really rich guys. The first one we thought of was one of our atheist friends.
Yeah.
Because we thought, how cool would it be
Yeah.
if the Lord put it on this guy's heart to gift the church, right?
Yeah.
Well, he loved the idea.
Yeah.
And so he started thinking about it. But then it actually turned out to be this older gentleman. He was like 88 years old.
Yeah.
And he purchased the building for us. And I'll never forget when the first time he bought the building and he gave Grant a key. Grant called me. He sat out on the front steps of this massive cathedral and he called me. And I just remember feeling like, why would the Lord do this? Why us? Even now I think about it, I was so overwhelmed by the Father. Like, it hit me so hard how much I'll try to be a good daughter to him, but the reality is that it doesn't matter what I do, it doesn't change my position. I'm his daughter. And the love of God just hit me so hard that he would gift this church like that.
And it's like what we were talking a few moments ago off mic when we weren't recording. Something's clearly up here.
Right.
God's doing stuff
Right.
in Nashville, but then
In
also here at
Nashville
this
and-
church.
yes.
There's been so many little strange coincidences, especially since you guys have moved into this space.
Right.
God keeps deepening the story of you being here.
Right.
And it's
Right.
about this neighborhood. It's about
Right.
this spot.
Right. Yeah, like what's happening in this little church is only a small picture of what's actually happening. Like what you said, like there's so many little churches right around here that we're friends with that they're having crazy God experiences happening. And it's cool because we get to share them with each other. And it's like, what is the Lord doing? Like this big church over here, Cross Point. Long story short, Grant had a dream that he was supposed to go over there and pray for that guy. Well, it happened. And he went over there and prayed for that guy. Anyways, they both have a mallet now. And the reason they both have a mallet, it says revival on it. They're going to hit the drum on that side, and we're hitting the drum on this side.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So, like, we're, you
So
know.
God's just, he's building relationships and tying you into what's happening here in the city.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in places like the big church or
Right.
smaller churches in your neighborhood.
Right. Right.
It's amazing.
Right.
So it's Adventures in Church Planting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And, you know, when we got this building, I mean, it's a wonderful building, but, you know, there's mold.
Yeah.
When we first moved in, there was
Yeah,
buckets. There were buckets in every corner.
Yeah, it's over 100 years old.
Yes.
So it's a
Yeah.
blessing, and it's like, what are we going to do?
Right. It's huge. And there's a lot. Like, I remember when the stage back here, like, we had to get an electrician out because we had a radio station coming through everybody's monitors. And sometimes it was country, which,
Yeah.
you know, but most of the time it was Hispanic music going. So,
Hilarious.
like, we'd be singing, you know, a song. In the middle of it, you're hearing, like, you know.
Mariachi?
Yeah. Yeah. It was crazy. And, you know, not a lot of times you could hear it out through the speakers, most of the time in our ears, but sometimes it would come through the speakers.
That's a great Sunday
Yeah.
morning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. So we had to, like, I think they call it grounding or something. They had to come fix it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't you love an old building?
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, we started right here in the church planting part. What would you want to say to church planters? Because we sort of started and we're deep into this story about how things are happening and going for you. But one of the things you're a worship leader, you're a songwriter, you're a mother, you're all those things. But one of the things you and Grant have been for the last 3 years is a church planter.
Right.
What would you like to say to church planters, people who are doing this thing?
I would say, right off the top of my head, be obedient.
And what does that mean to you? Like, provide a little context. Because
What that means-
we know what
yeah.
obedience is
Yeah,
in general,
yeah.
but like,
I would say, you know, when the Lord puts something on your heart, just do it. And what I mean by that, even if it's hard, you know, because this process has not been easy.
yeah.
And even from the moment the dream was born, it was very difficult even to say it. But just one step in front of the other and be obedient in the moment. So like if he says to you, you know, start saving money towards this thing. You might have to fund it. Just be obedient. Or if he says, you know, keep that banner or keep that, you know, communion set. Somebody gave us the original Nashville Vineyard communion set from a long time ago.
Yeah, from Jerry.
Yeah. Actually, Jerry gave it to us.
Oh.
And it was
how
kept inside
cool.
of a trunk of our car for a long time. Well, you know what? Thank God we kept it because those communion sets are really expensive.
They are. And do you guys use them now?
We use it now. In fact, every Sunday. And that's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
You know, we're picking up where that vineyard, you know, stopped. We're able to stand on their shoulders and keep going. But I would say, you know, be obedient. You know, not everybody is going to, you know, we don't get the whole picture. So we can't expect everybody around you to get the whole picture of what the Lord's saying. And so you just have to know what he has said and hold on to that and be obedient because a lot of people will be for it and a lot of people will be against it and a lot of people will be like, have reservations.
Yeah, we just don't know what it means.
No.
Yeah.
You just got to know what he has told you and just do it.
Okay, so what's happening in the neighborhood? Because we're in East Nashville
We're in East
right
Nashville,
now.
yeah.
It's for those of you who are not familiar with Nashville, it's a very kind of like distinct part of Nashville.
Yes, yes.
Sort of the artists live over here.
Yes, and hippies and
Yeah.
a
It's
lot of-
cool.
Yeah.
It's a cool part of town.
Yeah, we have like a tomato fest over there. There's like where they do tomato plants and
That's right.
a lot of cool restaurants and CBD oil. There's a lot of that kind of stuff everywhere.
Yeah. It's for your information.
Actually, back in the day when the church was built, this was the vacation spot. They said it was like a 6-degree weather difference from downtown Nashville here on the other side of the river to here. So they would come here and have the summers over here in East Nashville. They would
That's
relax.
so weird, huh?
Yeah, so this was like a vacation spot where they built the church.
Welcome
so.
to vacation land.
Right. Not so much anymore, but it was. And
That's so funny.
yeah, it's coming along. It's it's changing. We're in an interesting place because we have a lot of. I mean, the house right next to us is over $1 million, right here. But then on the other side of us is the largest project housing development.
Yeah.
Right behind us, and I do notice that there has been a change in the culture since we've been in here. Like when we first moved in, like that first week, there was a murder right down the road behind the dumpster back there. But we haven't really had a murder in this area for a long time now.
Well, I know that you guys rebuilt the kitchen that's in the basement of the church, like a big, massive commercial kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
Isn't there like a ministry that serves the poor out of that?
Yeah, so that again, we would have never seen this coming. Like, this is all the Lord. But we had this kitchen down there that was like from really long time ago, really gross. Rat poop everywhere. It was just gross.
Yeah, I saw it before it was finished. It was bad.
Yeah. Now, we still used it.
Yeah.
You use what you got when you're church planning, but somehow, some way, we met this ministry called People Loving Nashville, and God is so good at connecting people, but they needed a place because the building they were in was being condemned, and they've been feeding the homeless every Monday night now for, I think, over 11 years, and they needed a new kitchen to work out of, and they needed office space, and they needed a clothing closet. Well, we have all of that, and so we just said, come on in. So they started using, everything in there, and then this American Idol dude, Danny Goki, was starting a show where he rehabs nonprofits, and anyway, so he came in and donated, I think it was $150,000. Redid the whole kitchen. It's up to code now. Like, they even lowered the ceiling.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and he did it all, and then we had to come in, and like I remember they took a video of us, and we were just like, when they did the reveal, it was pretty cool. But now, yeah, there's this beautiful, beautiful kitchen. Anything we would need is down there, even a walk-in fridge. And
what I love about this whole story is you guys are here on Sunday doing church, but then there's this thing that's being reformed inside the church, the actual kitchen, which that's directly touching the neighborhood.
Oh yeah. And so like they feed the homeless Mondays and Thursdays. Thursdays they do some cooking, but they take most of it to a homeless camp over here behind our building, and they do a barbecue there. So it's more like, come be a part of the family. It's really cool. And then once a month, we bring the homeless in, and we call it Food Chapel, where we open that side door down there, and they come in, we serve them, and then we just sing any kind of music, and then it'll change at one point, and it's prophetic ministry.
Got it.
We just start.
So you guys partner with them on that?
We do that.
Oh, you do that?
Yeah, some guy came to our church and had this burn for homeless ministry, and we're like, do it.
Yeah.
And so we started it last year, and so every first Saturday of every month, they do that.
But
there's a lot of crossover. Like, a lot of our people do go with People Loving Nashville, and a lot of them come with us. It's awesome partnership.
Well, I think that's one of the cool things about your all's church. Not that I know it deeply, but from knowing you and Grant a bit, and then knowing kind of what's happening here, everything Grant and you do seems to be like partnership based. You guys are always meeting the next person, and there's some kind of a connection.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We are very aware of our limitations, and so, like, I remember when we first planned it, people would ask us, what are you going for? What's your demographic? Are you going for the millennials? Are you going for? We're like, we don't know, man. Like,
we're going for people.
We're going for people. We don't know. All we know is that we were supposed to play at church, and so we'll never start a ministry without a minister. We'll never, do something that makes us exhausted because we just don't have that energy, and we are willing to meet anybody.
I just love that it is bringing you guys into this historic space. I love that this church hasn't turned into a restaurant.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's still be a beautiful restaurant.
Yes.
But it's better as a church, and I love
Yeah.
that there are things happening at the church that are actually touching the neighborhood. Yeah. Hey, can we switch gears here just for a
Yeah.
second? Yeah. Normally we start with like origin stories, which we didn't do. So why don't you just catch us up here for a minute?
Sure.
Where'd you grow up?
I'm Floridian.
You're a Floridian.
Yes, yes. I lived in Florida until I was 18
Crazy
years old.
Florida people.
Yeah.
Florida man. Did you grow up with Florida man?
I don't know. I don't.
You know that it was that stupid thing that was on the internet a couple months ago. You type in your birthday, you type in the words Florida man and then your birthday, and you see what the crazy headline is.
No, but I'm gonna have to do that now.
You have to.
Yeah,
It's
I'm gonna have to
absolutely
do that now.
hysterical. On our way to family vacation this year, we were doing all of our birthdays and crying, laughing at the
my
crazy things that
gosh.
happen on our birthdays.
Oh.
Florida
I'm
man.
gonna have to do Florida man. I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd you grow up in Florida?
Well, I was born in Fort Lauderdale, and then we moved to Tampa, and I was in Tampa for 10 years. And that's when we became connected with the Vineyard, was in Tampa. My dad and my mom got radically saved in Fort Lauderdale, I think, and then we went to Tampa, and we were part of a church. Anyways, long story short, they ended up in a vineyard, Tampa Bay Vineyard, pastored by David Gales, I think was his name. And my dad started leading worship, and
So you grew up basically as a Christian then?
oh yeah,
Okay.
born and raised. Yeah,
But your parents weren't until they got saved. Like were
Well,
they
they-
nominally?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
They had always been in church. I think my mom got saved in Times Square Church in New York.
Really?
She's from the Bronx,
Okay.
and my dad was Presbyterian, and so they had always loved the Lord, but they weren't following the Lord.
Yeah.
And my dad had a really bad problem with alcohol, and got massively delivered, and everything changed after that.
Do you remember that, or was that before you?
That was when I was young. I was probably 2. I don't
Okay.
remember much about it.
But it was a part of your family dynamic.
And so they went from, my dad was a 70s rocker, you know,
Yeah.
and then it swung all the way to where we only listened to like El Shaddai by Amy Grant.
Your poor father.
I know. I mean, he
Poor
had
guy.
all these records, and he had a, you know, he felt like the Lord told him, you need to get rid of them.
Oh man, listen, you're
All
not
of
even
these
you're,
records, like-
Listen, you're not even a real Christian unless you've burnt your music collection at least twice.
I broke so many Backstreet Boys CDs.
Yeah,
you know?
you look, you know. Listen, we've all done
Nailed
it.
them to the cross, the literal nailing to the cross in youth camp. You
Yeah,
know?
do you remember you remember those big packets where you put your CDs in, you know, and it was like a binder?
Yes.
Like how many times did I throw that away?
I know.
Oh,
I
there it
know.
is. So your dad was a rocker.
He was a rocker.
He gets saved and he comes into Amy Grant El Shaddai.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so he starts leading worship, and you know, he becomes like the worship pastor there, and so you know, I just grew up under that, where we were always in church.
How many siblings do you have?
I have 4.
Okay, you oldest?
So I'm second oldest. So I have
Okay.
an older brother. He's 8 years older, and then I have a younger one, John, Joel, and then Michaela. So there's 5 of us. So we
Okay.
had the big white van. Like we would.
Yeah, we call those repent or perish vans. Because at home, at least in Kentucky, there's this strange sect of like homeschool people.
We were homeschooled at one part.
Yeah,
too.
you were. Yeah, okay. Maybe you may have been in this group, but they'll, you know, there's this one little particular crew. They will write like in a hand painted sign, like with red paint, "Repent or perish" on the
Wow,
bumper. You
yeah.
know, it's like, wow, okay,
Yeah.
repent
yeah.
or perish people.
Yeah, so I remember listening like the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord, that album, whatever, driving 45 minutes to Tampa Vineyard, because we lived in Brandon, which was like, you know, across the bay or whatever. And we spent so much time there, and it was awesome. Well, anyways, when I was about 12, in that though, by the way,
Yes.
renewal hit. And
What year? Mid 90s.
Mid 90s, man. And we were in Tampa. We ended up going back to this little Baptist church that was not really Baptist,
Yeah.
because like they were rolling on the floor and like with
That's
renewal.
not Baptist.
No. And they had changed their name to The Rock, but I mean, there were so many 24-hour worship nights that I would have to sleep in the pews and stuff.
Oh, so you guys
many.
went full force then.
Oh yeah. Like I grew up literally falling asleep to the same songs, like "Mercy is falling, is falling." You know,
That's
that song,
right.
you know, in the
David
back of
Roos.
the church. And you know, I wouldn't trade it either. I
Yeah.
wouldn't trade it.
How old were you?
that was between 7 and 12 when all
Yeah.
that hit.
Yeah, so super formational.
Oh,
When did
yes.
you start leading worship?
The first time I led on my own was 12.
When did you first sing with your dad?
Yes, and I don't have an exact time. I know I used to
Like a
lead with him.
BGV?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sing the harmony?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And my dad used to record music in his closet,
Okay.
and so he would have us come in and sing on his music that
I
he would
love
write.
this. I love
so
this.
it's always been in our
So
blood.
were you guys a family band?
Oh, we could have been the Von Trapps, yeah.
Okay.
So, like,
like all your siblings play
all
stuff?
of them.
Okay.
I have 2 brothers that play drums, like bosses, like they're amazing. And then I have all of them play the guitar, all of them.
Yes.
And we all sing. And so anytime we went to a new church, and we went to a lot of churches that had like 10 people. But if we showed up, it was like, oh, great, the worship band.
Yes.
Like, because we would all just get up there and do it. Like
Yeah.
So it
That's
was
so
great.
good. Okay, so when did you lead on your own?
First
'Cause
time
I
I
cut
led on
you
my
off.
own. This is interesting.
Yeah.
We were in Jacksonville at this point. We had moved to Jacksonville. I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
We were going to, I want to say they called it the Beaches Vineyard, or anyways, I think it was the Beaches Vineyard. And I don't know if it's still there anymore, but it was in the youth group. I was in the youth group, and I remember I was a part of a band, and they said, hey, Sarah, can you sing this song? And it was Come Now's the Time to Worship.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't know, because I was supposed to play on the keyboard. And they're like, sing it. And I was like, come now. I just started singing it. And everybody was like, you can sing. And I was like, I can sing. Like, I remember that moment. It hit me like, I can sing.
Yeah, so it's like self-discovery.
Yes, I can
Yeah.
sing and play at the same time. I can actually be a worship leader. Like, it just hit me. I remember. And because I remember that church, we used to have our youth worship when they would do their adult worship. It was separate. And so from that point on, I led worship. Like, that's just what I did.
Were your brothers in the band with you?
Oh yeah, all of them played at
That's
some
so
point.
great. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah. It
All
was
right.
it was a great church. They took risks on kids there, which I love, because if had somebody not allowed that space, I don't think it would have ever happened.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. No, there have to be spaces where people can work it out. There have to be spaces where people can fail.
Right.
There have to be spaces where it doesn't have to be pro.
Right.
Yeah, great things happen. I mean, that's what happened at our church. It's that we were all the worship band because there was no one else.
Right.
But then also because Ray Hollenbach, who you know, he just gave us all keys or told us the code to get in the building, and we were just there all hours of the night
That's
playing
awesome.
music.
Yeah.
And as a result, like deep friendships were formed, but then
Right.
an amazing group of musicians who, would not have ever formed came into being because the church was an open place where people could do things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's great. All right, so
Yeah.
when did you start writing songs?
Oh, young too. I mean, like I said, my dad would write. And so it was just a normal thing in our household that when you played music, you start worshiping, and eventually a song would be written. I do.
Were you guys like prophetic flow people?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I definitely am. A lot of my songs I get in dreams. So like, yeah, but
But I'm saying like even in a worship song, so maybe you're leading a song that everybody knows. It's a written worship song. And then we're just going to wait and vamp, and maybe we go somewhere
100%.
and then a chorus comes out.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, every worship song we sing is birthed out of a prophetic moment. It doesn't matter how it happens, whether it's you're working on it, like, being disciplined, or it's just a spontaneous moment. It is coming from the Holy Spirit if it's a worship song. And so, yeah, when I worship.
I love the conviction you talk with, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm a 1 on the Enneagram, so it's like, yes, right or wrong.
I love it, dude. I love it. Yeah, come on, keep it going.
But yeah.
Every song is a prophetic moment. Boom.
Yeah, bam.
Boom. Yes.
Tweet that. Okay.
Yes.
But yeah, like, so for me, when I lead worship, I'm constantly listening. Like, yeah, okay, we're going to sing this song. It's been written. But what else is he saying right now? Because that may need to be sung.
Yeah.
And it needs to maybe be sung from the people, or we sing it over, or we sing it together. I don't know, but we're going to listen. So
I live for that.
yeah, I mean,
I live for that.
it's where the magic is.
I think so too. I mean, I call it taking a left-hand turn in worship, but like if we ever lose that, I'm kind of out.
Right.
It's like, well, I don't know. Because it keeps that sense of worship as a dialogue.
Yes.
That we're singing something, but then, I mean, the Bible says that God is also singing something. And so that tells me that at a certain level, worship is some kind of a conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope that our Vineyard worship leaders, or just, other worship leaders who are listening to this podcast, I hope that we're feeling the freedom and then also gaining the courage to occasionally allow our worship spaces to be conversational in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a risk. It's a
Yeah.
risk to wait.
Yeah.
It's a risk to sing something you're hearing.
You ever had a train wreck?
Oh, many times.
Tell me one train wreck.
Oh man, many times. Like I'm like Michael Scott in the way where you just start. You don't know where you're going, but you just start and
The episode where Michael Scott takes a right-hand turn because the GPS puts him in the pond. Yeah, exactly.
And there's many times. I mean, where I mix up my words a lot when I'm singing. I maybe want to say presence, but I'll say healing.
Yes.
Sometimes it's the Lord. A lot of the times it's me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where I'm just not paying attention or I'm lost myself.
Yeah.
But more often than not, he's covering it. There's grace there and he's doing something.
Well, one of the other things I've picked up in you as well is you really love the Lord.
Oh yeah.
But you don't take yourself terribly seriously.
No.
And so you can let it go. So even if like you laugh easy. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Like, so if we have a screw up, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I one of my ways of coping, well, when I was younger, it would be just like, well, nobody else is up here. But now it's more like, they ain't up here. So I'm just going to do it. They go. It's just more of like, I'm just going to do it. Like,
I'm the one with the microphone.
Right.
Here we go. Let's do it.
And if I mess up, whatever, let me see them do it. It's kind of like, let's just see. Why not? Why not see what happens? I mean, like, if we don't take risks, we're never going to see the reward.
Well, and for me, it humanizes everything too. And I think it's good for the church to see leaders take risks.
Right.
And oftentimes to see those risks really be a blessing. And then occasionally see those risks kind of end up being a train wreck or like not super great.
Right.
I think that's really wonderful because that's life.
Right.
Nobody's hitting 1,000.
Right. And the reality is, in a worship atmosphere, like, no matter what I'm saying, their eyes are going to be on Jesus, right? If it's a true worship atmosphere, our eyes should be on Jesus. And so if I mess up, whatever, because our eyes should be on Jesus. And
Jesus didn't fall off the throne.
right. So let's,
So I guess what I'm hearing in your story then is all of this stuff we've been talking about here for the last 2 or 3 minutes. This is really rooted in things that your mom and dad led your family into.
Oh yeah. I'm so thankful for my parents because not only did they pay for my piano lessons for years, I took 15 plus years of piano lessons, but they gave me access to all the other instruments that I wanted to do. They would have me lead worship from a young age. My dad would bring me to an orphanage when I was young. I remember this every Sunday night, and we would lead the orphans in worship. And then we would be the ones to hand out the candy. As my dad would lead them in songs, we would hand them candy. And like that stuff, like nobody knew he was doing that. But I knew, and that is rooted in me. And I'm very thankful for that because,
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff, it doesn't make you famous. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not going to grow an Instagram account by leading worship at the orphanage and giving away candy.
No.
But I have to believe that does get you favor with God. Mm-hmm. And Jesus uses the phrase rich towards God, and I think that's really it. And it's clearly impressed you.
Right, it has.
It changed who you are.
And I know there's a lot. I'm a millennial. I'm actually considered as like on the verge of like a millennial. And
Okay, I have to ask you that. How old are you?
I'm 34.
Okay.
So I'm like on that line. They would say technically I'm a millennial, but I don't really feel like a millennial. But yeah. Because I got married at 22, had a kid by 25, and had a job, so.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, okay.
Same.
So, but I will say this with my childhood, and there's a lot of people my age that also slept on the pews that are not following the Lord right now. But what the Lord shared with me recently about that is that the same words that were sung over me and the same atmosphere that I slept in, they slept in, that there are nuggets of gold hidden in their hearts. They just may not have come up to the surface yet. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of those prodigals out right now that they've seen too much or they're really hurt and wounded. Man, the Lord's going to wake them up soon. Like I just feel it in my heart, like all those that were around that time. Because I meet a lot of people that have the same experience as I do, but are jaded.
Yeah.
And
what do you want to say to the prodigals?
It's okay to come home.
Yeah.
That there are places that people are real and there's a real God. And the church is going to make mistakes. It always has. And but he's real. And the things that you experienced back in youth camp and back laying in those pews, that was him.
Yeah, it wasn't fake.
Wasn't fake.
Amen.
And it's okay if you took a roundabout.
Yeah.
He's still here.
Yeah. Amen. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that because I resonate with that too, because that's not exactly my story, but it's a little bit similar in that I grew up and had some very profound experiences with God. And a lot of those people are still with me, and then some aren't. And we're talking about people who had the exact same experiences that I had, right?
Right.
Yeah. A couple of my best friends, they don't walk with the Lord anymore.
Right.
And I actually think about them more than I realize.
Right.
Yeah,
Grant and I always ask the question, like, what happened? What's the difference here? Because there's some that are still following and there's some that are not. What happened? We ask that all the time. I don't have the answer for that, except for that nothing has been wasted. And those things are in there,
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that. Yeah. Heather and I are actually going to record a podcast tonight that isn't totally about this, but is kind of about that.
Cool.
We've just noticed some things in people's sort of like life trajectory. And there's a couple key moments where people just kind of like come unglued. And some of it I think is life development, spiritual development or whatever. And I think there's some key moments and people can kind of like lose the plot a little bit. Even Christians, and I'm becoming more keenly aware of that after having pastored for a while, and you see people go through things and you're like, wow, why did that happen?
Right.
They were so great. And then all of a sudden things exploded. So I love hearing your hope. And even I just felt like you were prophesying there for a few minutes.
Sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm hoping that some of those people somehow stumble into this little conversation.
Yeah. Come home. That's all I got to say. It's safe.
That's right.
So.
Okay. Hey, can we talk about songwriting for a minute?
Let's do it.
Yeah. One of the things I love about you is that you're a songwriter.
Yes.
And one of the things, and I've told you this before, you're kind of prolific, or at least that's my experience of you. Okay, you may go, I'm not prolific, but my experience of you is that you're sort of prolific in that it seems like you always have songs.
Yeah.
Like if I send you an email and say, Sarah, what are you singing right
Sorry.
now? Like I'm going to get emails back, right?
know.
I love
I
that.
know.
No,
And-
but I love that.
Yeah.
And so I'm very interested in you as a songwriter. Are you always writing?
Well, yeah, I am always writing. If full songs or just ideas, like I'm always looking for things that haven't been spoken about. Like recently, like yesterday, I wrote a song about how there's not enough words or notes sung that he can even cover who he is. Like that was basically the whole song was just like, there's not enough words. And so there's always an idea out there. And so I'm always listening and I'm always writing, whether it's putting it at my phone. Like I said, I get them in dreams.
Yeah.
Those to me are really special too, the ones in the dreams. Because
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Yeah.
When you say you get it in a dream, you mean you hear a song in a dream? Like you're like half asleep, half awake, and you get
that, I've had that.
You get that. You hear it. Are you hearing it, or are you somehow experiencing it another way in the dream?
There could be a couple things. Like I woke up in the middle and I'm waking up in that middle space or whatever. And
I love the middle space.
I know.
I don't know what that's called, but it's amazing.
Treasure. It's
Yeah.
it's just amazing.
Yeah.
But I'll hear a melody or a line. Man, and those are amazing. And I'll sing it in my morning voice into my phone, hoping that I can still make out the melody later.
Yeah.
Those are amazing. And some I've had. Man, I had a dream once where John Barnett was singing with Blake Lively.
Hilarious.
Yeah. But the song was about the Father and how much he loves us. And there on the front row was this man and he was just weeping and breaking. Like, I mean, he looked like a guy that did construction work and he was like just weeping. And I remember she started singing the song. It was actually a song that John had written. Anyways, I captured that whole song. And every time I hear that now, even I kept that voice memo of me waking up. I could feel like that moment.
Is that song finished?
I think Melissa's helping me work on that one right now.
Really?
Yes.
That's wonderful.
So, yeah.
Does John know this story?
No, he doesn't.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll have to
We'll
make
have
sure
to tell him.
we need to tell him.
Yeah, but
That's wonderful.
yeah. So sometimes they're full songs. Most of the time they're not. They're ideas, melodies, or
So do you consider yourself a prophetic person?
I would say I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're one of these people, God speaks to you in dreams.
Not all the time.
Yeah.
I don't dream all the time. It's usually seasons.
Really?
Like I'll have a week of dreaming like hardcore and then I'll go months without a dream. It's really weird, but that's
Okay.
how it works.
Wow. But it's interesting to me that you've received multiple songs or multiple ideas or melodies in dreams. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, I pray all the time, Lord, give me a melody, give me something to say.
Really?
Yeah, because I believe he's telling us, like, for instance, No Longer Slaves and No Longer Strangers were written about the same time.
They were written at the exact same time.
Right. Well, obviously.
Actually, they were written so close to the same time that neither person could have known the other song existed, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But that's confirmation of what he was saying at that moment. Like, I mean, so I believe that. I believe he's speaking to us right now about something he's wanting to do now. And so I'm always asking, Father, give me words to say, give me something to say. Is there something to say? Is there a way to explain the Father's heart in a different way? Like, I'm always asking him because.
Okay, so when you're praying, let's just break this down here for some people who are listening to you do this.
Yeah.
So you're saying, I'm always praying because I know God is speaking, right?
Right.
What is that prayer? Like, is this you're alone and you're at your house and you're like, I'm praying, like this is my prayer time? Or is this, I'm washing dishes and the kids are watching SpongeBob and I'm just saying, God, would you just speak to me? And then, you just keep going?
That was like literally what happens in my house. I'm washing dishes and the kids are watching SpongeBob.
There we go.
They're really into SpongeBob right now. A lot of those prayers happen in the shower or driving, in the midst of doing other things. Like, I battle with anxiety and a lot. And sometimes in my songwriting, that anxiety can come in. And so what I've learned to do is stop putting pressure on myself to come up with anything and just put it back on the Lord and say, Father, anything I come up with right now is going to be birthed out of that place of striving. So I need you to tell me what to do. I need to know what you're saying. Can you give me words?
Yeah.
Give me words. And I prayed all the time, and a lot of times he'll speak to me. And it's usually in those moments of just worship. They'll come out.
Yeah.
And I try to be disciplined where I try and write one song a day. Ray Hughes says we should always try and write one song a day, even if the only one that hears it is the Lord.
That's great.
And so I try and do that. Sometimes it's just, and those are the best songs.
That's
the
all I
ones
have.
that there's just a syllable,
That's all I have.
But I think those are building to something that he's trying to do, and nothing is wasted. So, I'm always asking the Lord.
I love that. I love that you are keeping songwriting at the top of your mind and heart. Yeah. And that you're looking for ways to cooperate with it. Yeah. So what do you do when you get stuck?
When I get stuck, I usually will play classical music.
Okay, who do you play?
I love Claude Debussy.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay.
There's this, I think it's his first arabesque. I will work on that one.
Did you grow up loving classical music?
I had to play it because on my lessons, like that's what I would learn.
Piano lessons. Oh, nice.
So I would play a lot of that. And I like it because it just allows me to enjoy the gift. And I get to play. It's a stress reliever. I get creative. And before you know it, I'm playing Jesus, We Love You. Like it just flows that way because it's a beautiful thing. I also give myself permission to not write.
Yeah.
Just to say, I'm not in the right place right now. It'll come back and it's okay. And I'll do something else creative. I will, color. I'll do something else. But yeah, I think we get so we just get so wound up in this whole, oh no, I can't write, that'll actually keep us from writing.
Oh, that's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. On the one hand, you want to be faithful or diligent. And by that, I mean, maybe write regularly or work on a song,
Yeah.
right? And on the other hand, there's a sense in which it's a gift and we're receiving it,
Right.
You can lean so hard into the diligence part that you can miss some of the other things you were saying earlier, like that
Right.
God wants to speak to us, that maybe he wants to give us something, or that writing from a place of anxiety, well, that's a dead end.
Yeah, dead end.
Writing from a place of, feeling like I need to do the Nashville thing.
Right.
All of those
Dead
are all
end.
dead ends,
Yeah.
right?
Dead end.
And so it's interesting to hear you talk about both sides of that.
Right. Now, I will say, once you're given the nugget from the Lord, if you're given a nugget, you have to steward it. And so, like, there's been many stuff that I've been given, man, and it is hard work. It is hard work to take that beginning of a song and to complete it. I remember Dan Wilt a couple years ago.
We love you, Dan.
I know, he's amazing.
Songs are a place we go.
A couple years ago, he said to me, he said, Sarah, he said, you're good, but you need to work on completing your songs. And he's right. He was so right, because I can come up with anything. I come up with a new idea every day. And I did.
Yeah.
But the discipline of completing the songs was not happening.
Yeah.
And so I was not being a good steward of these things that I had. And so I started to work on that. And that is hard work.
Yeah.
It's hard. But man, in that process of writing a song, there's so many more songs that come from it.
There are. Sometimes you'll get into a dead end and realize, in order for me to complete this song, I need to take this piece out because it's not really where the song is going. But that piece, that's
Is
a great
another song.
idea. So I need to
Right.
put that aside
Right.
and then keep going on this song, but knowing that's a really good piece.
Right.
Right.
Like that song, Make Us Like Jesus. I have a whole spiral notebook. Well, you know this because I would
No,
email you.
You and I emailed for weeks about that song. It's wonderful.
I know.
But what's interesting to me is between my conversations with you and then at the same time, I think you were talking to Mark Nicholas,
Yes.
right? Mark Nicholas is a music publisher
Yeah.
here in town, and I think he's a song doctor.
Yeah,
kind
he's
of.
amazing.
Yeah. But Mark was able to identify for you what that song was really about.
Yes.
And when he did, you started taking things away,
Yes.
and the song got clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I learned so much about the Trinity.
Yeah.
I mean, that notebook is like, I should write a book about the Trinity, because I found so much stuff because, I had to work on that first verse so many times.
It's a great verse.
Yeah.
It's really a great
Yeah.
verse. It says something not just true, but it's true in that way that's compelling that I want to say it. It's like, wow, okay, love
It's
it.
full of truths. Like it's just, you can read the song and you can read the truth of scripture in it.
Yes.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, and that doesn't even count the melody part.
Right.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So there's this sense in which, as a songwriter, you are prophetic, intercessor, go with the flow, get it by a dream. And what I'm hearing is you're a grinder.
Yeah. A lot of sweat, a lot of tears, a lot of writing, a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's work.
Yeah.
And, but
Yeah. What's great about that is if we can ever, as artists, put this together, we sort of wake up to the fact that work doesn't mean not God.
right.
Like sometimes God is to do the work.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or to cooperate with him is to do the work.
Because there's other stuff he's wanting to do. It's not just about creating the song. It's about a relationship with him. Like, I learned so much. There's so many moments writing that one song particularly where I would sit there and go, holy junk.
Yeah.
Like, I did not know that. Like, and I would be like, that is a whole goal. That's a nugget right there. And that to him, I think, was more important than me completing the song,
Yeah, many things happening. Okay, talk to me about co-writing.
Yeah, co-writing.
Do you like co-writing?
I love co-writing.
Okay.
And see, that was part of the problem, because Dan would see I would come up with these ideas and just, here you go, and throw them at people, because they'd be like, no, you finish it, because to me that was easier. So he was like, you need to, work on these a little bit. But I love co-writing because I am limited. I look at something one way, but other people are going to look at it another way. And in order to reach more people and to really show the Father to people, we have to have multiple viewpoints about this truth, because we're all going to see it one way.
Have you been able to find a few relationships here in Nashville that
Oh, yeah.
you enjoy writing with?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
Well, I have, we have a good writing community here in Nashville Vineyard, but I have a guy, he has a studio downstairs, Matt Carey. Him and I have recently been writing a lot. It just works, and we write a lot. I've written with a couple people around Nashville, and because of the season of life I was in with having a 3-year-old, 2-year-old, it just wasn't as easy. But we're about to switch into an easier season where they're both in school, and so we'll see what happens.
You just sang that.
I know. That's how excited I am. But
okay, so what did you learn? What did you learn from co-writing in the Nashville world?
Oh wow, yeah.
Could you distill that at all?
Yeah. I would say I learned that it is so good to be with people who are a lot better than you.
Yeah.
I would sit in a room like with people that would write and they would be so quick. I also realized what my strengths and my weaknesses were as a writer.
Okay, so what are your strengths as a writer?
My strength is melody.
Yes.
My weakness is words.
Okay.
Our words. I have to work for good words. I have to work to create pictures. I have to.
And did you end up meeting some writers who are word people?
Oh yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh yeah, like a writer, Sarah Hart here in Nashville. She's good.
She's quick too.
She's quick. Like it blows my mind how quick she is. And I like that one song, "Peace Be Still." I spent forever on that one line about the waves, and I mean hours. I wrote so many different things, and then I said, "Sarah, what do you think?" And she told me, bam, right there. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't need to give me anything for that. And I was like, I'm giving you something for that because you know how much work and thought and effort I put into trying to think through that. So yeah, I learned my strengths and my weaknesses from writing with other people. I am not a strong guitar player. I can play guitar. I learned it for small groups. That was my goal. So when I sit with someone who's a really good guitar player, a whole nother world opens up. Yeah,
because the chords happen differently than they do on piano.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I noticed my melody changes. Like I can think of so many more melodies if somebody else.
Do you do that with Matt?
Oh yeah. Matt will play acoustic, or he'll even put something on a loop, and we'll just go.
Yeah. Chord voicings are so important.
Yeah.
I really picked that up from the few times that I have spent a little moment or two with Carl Anderson at the Anchor in Maine. Carl's such he's such a good piano player.
Yeah.
But Carl plays, I'm sure to piano people, they're not weird chords. But to me, the chords or even the combinations that he'd put together, it felt fresh. And it does. It wakes up a different part of the melody. You hear melodies or notes coming together that I would never hear.
Oh yeah.
Because when I pick up my guitar, I play the same 5 dumb things I always play, right?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. And so I mean, and or different styles. Like I wrote once with Ellie Holcomb, and she was playing acoustic, which again wakens up a whole new thing. We wrote this little Parisian cafe song, and it is such a good song, but it's about basically Moses being hidden in the rock. But the music is a different story than that story, but it's just so, and it would never have happened had I not been with her. And man, we dove into scripture and it was good. And
that's always my favorite thing about co-writing is knowing that if a couple people get together, that whatever we make, it's something that only we can make. Mm-hmm. It's not something I could make. It's not something you can make. It's something only we today can make.
Right.
I love those moments.
Right. Yeah. They're good.
They are.
And so I love co-writing.
Okay, so maybe what I'm hearing then is this fall the kids are going to go to school, and maybe you're going to lean into that, or maybe have a little space for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and lean into that.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, can we switch gears one more time?
Switch gears.
Okay, I don't think I've done this with many people. Can we do some quick hitters?
Sure. Oh,
favorite song?
Oh, "Fly" by Jason Upton.
"Fly" by Jason Upton.
That's what's happening right now. So.
Okay, "Execution Meal."
Oh wow.
You know, like if you're going, they give you one last meal. What's your execution meal?
Oh man.
Is it something grandma
made? Rice and
made?
beans and plátanos. or plantains.
Is that grandma?
Yes,
Is that grandma?
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
so tell me quickly about grandma.
My mom's Puerto Rican, so we're Puerto Rican. So it's rice and beans and
That's right.
plantains.
Did you grow up with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we lived in Florida.
Barbecue pork?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was
Pork
gonna say.
everything.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Puerto
Yeah.
Rican, like killer pork.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We had a lot of Thanksgivings in a garage on picnic tables where we'd eat all sorts of Spanish food. And yeah. Yep.
Come on with that.
I know.
Okay,
So.
perfect day.
Oh, sunny, bright at the beach, maybe 78 degrees, a little windy.
I was
Fishing.
gonna ask fishing.
Yes.
You like to fish?
I do like to fish.
In the ocean or anywhere?
Anywhere. Yeah, my grandpa is a fisherman, so grew up fishing in Florida.
Can you gut a fish?
Yes, I don't like it,
Okay.
but I can if I have to. Frying the fish is good.
Okay. Like a whole head on and everything.
No, I did the meat.
You cut the head off.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to play with that. Come on.
Okay. Best coffee in town.
Oh, wow. You know, I'm probably going to get yelled at for this, but I really like Frothy Monkey.
Okay.
I
Listen,
do.
there's no wrong answer.
I like Bongo. I love Honest. I love Honest.
That's right.
And
There's no wrong answer. This is a judgment-free zone.
to be honest with you, though, I'm not a coffee snob. Like,
Oh, you're
I'm
not?
an addict, so I don't care where it's coming from. I just need it. So, you know.
Yeah. Caffeine, please.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last quick hitter. Home Alone 1 or 2?
2.
2
Yeah, I'd have to say 2.
in the city.
Yep.
All right.
My favorite.
Bold move.
It is. I love Home Alone 1,
Yeah.
but man, 2 is great.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll end this podcast with the question that I end every podcast with.
Uh-huh.
Can you just tell us the time you experienced great joy?
Okay, here's the time. This is personal, but
Yeah.
my second son, Caleb, we didn't think we were going to be able to get pregnant again. And I had felt like the Lord told me you were going to have a second son. I was going to have 2 sons. And so, but it was a risk to get pregnant. And we decided to go for it because I had a peace that whether it's a good outcome or a bad outcome, it's okay. Like that's the only promise I had. It's okay. So we got pregnant with Caleb. It was a high-risk pregnancy, very scary, a lot of doctor's appointments. And it was a heart issue that they were always afraid of for him. And I remember we couldn't come up with a name for him. And we knew it was a God thing that he was even coming. And I remember I had a dream, again, where I saw this kid named Caleb, and he was just staring at me. And so I woke up, I said, Grant, what about the name Caleb? Because I didn't like the name Caleb, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't. I wanted something like James or, whatever. But we looked up what the name Caleb meant, and it meant, first off, you'll find dog, which I think is funny. But the second one is wholehearted. And the issue was always that he was going to have a hole in his heart or there was going to be a problem. And I remember when we saw that that's what the name meant, we wept like babies because we thought, that's who he is.
A little wordplay.
Yes. He's going to be wholehearted. And not only that, but wholeheartedly after the Lord. So I remember when he was born, we both cried. The first time we heard him cry because the danger was over. The risk was over. And there was Caleb, a promise from the Lord that he had spoken to us. And that will forever always be one of the most beautiful stories of my life was that whole fear, walking through that valley of the shadow of death. I mean, I literally thought I was going to lose my son all the time. And
how's his heart now?
He's perfect.
Nothing.
And you know what? He is a lot like Caleb from the Bible. He will tell me what he wants, when he wants it, how he wants it. And if I don't do it, I mean, he's only 4 years old and he's gotten more spankings than... I mean, it's crazy, but I mean, he may even have hair on his chest already. He's like that kind of kid.
Yeah.
Like, but man,
I think I know where he gets it.
Yeah.
Every song it's born in a prophetic place. And by the way, for those of you who are listening, Sarah, every time she does this, I've noticed it today. But you do your hand like a dagger.
Like,
Very
I don't want to
funny.
mess around. This is the way it is.
You're clearly not messing around.
But yeah.
All right. Hey, this was great.
Awesome.
This was so good.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, Sarah, for people who are listening to this who may be in the Nashville area, where are we at right now? How can
We're
they come to your church?
522 Russell Street.
That is right.
That's right. Nashville
Sunday
Vineyard.
morning, what time?
10 o'clock.
That's right. Come
And
on down.
We are also going to be starting a service in the middle of the week for those who travel on the weekends.
That's
So,
right.
Be
All right.
Tuesdays.
Hey, thanks for doing this.
Yes.
Peace.
Hi, everyone. This is Melissa Keller, Events Director for Vineyard Worship. If you've been enjoying the podcast, I've got a couple of ways you could really help us. First of all, review the podcast on iTunes or the podcast platform of your choice. This helps more people find us. Also, connect with us on social media, Instagram at The Ferment Podcast and Twitter at FermentCast. Thanks for listening. See you next time.